move this here. All right, awesome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on what's new in container security with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. My name is Future Kortor, and I'm a product manager on the Defender for Cloud Customer Experience Engineering team, where I focus specifically on container security. So for today's session, in order to talk about what's new and what we've released over the past couple of months, first we'll look at container security within the broader Defender for Cloud CNAP. Then we'll take a look at what we've released within the past couple of months, and also see the capabilities that we have for both Defender for Containers and the Defender CSPM offering. Then we'll focus on agentless container posture, and lastly, we'll talk about the latest vulnerability scanning powered by Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management, and we'll talk about how you can upgrade to the MDVM scanning. As some of you may know, Defender for Cloud is a cloud-native application protection platform, or a CNAPP solution, with the goal being to protect your resources from code to cloud. And we have a broad offering here in terms of what we cover, as well as integrations across the Microsoft security stack. So with our DevSecOps offering, we're able to unify DevOps security across different pipelines, including GitHub, Azure DevOps, and GitLab. And also look at the cloud security posture management and cloud workload protection across different resource types that you may have in the cloud. And recently we've added more capabilities for permissions management. So looking at cloud infrastructure entitlement management. And you'll see here that we do integrate with other offerings. So this includes Microsoft Purview for data security, Defender external attack surface management, Azure network security, and Microsoft Sentinel to stream those alerts. And Defender for Cloud is available across all three major cloud platforms. So that includes AWS, Azure, and GCP, as well as any on-premises workloads that you may have. And when we're talking about container security specifically, we're looking at both the cloud security posture management and the cloud workload protection capabilities. So looking at the broader container security in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you'll see here that the goal is to discover your container estate and help you identify any risk and protect against breaches in the cloud. And we do that through providing capabilities across these four different pillars here. The first one being security posture management, and this is where a lot of our improvements have come from during the last couple of months. But at a surface here, you'll see that we're providing agentless capabilities to discover your Kubernetes cluster, and also providing best practices for both the control plane and the data plane as well. And we'll take a closer look into some of the latest security posture capabilities. The next thing that we offer here is vulnerability management. And this is also agentless. It requires zero configuration from your end aside from enabling the vulnerability management scanning. You'll also see here that we're offering an increased scanning frequency, as well as support for OS and language packages, and also showing you exploitability insights and supporting ACR private links. The next thing that you'll see we offer is advanced threat detection. And this is where the alerting comes to play. So we do have a rich detection suite here that's leveraging leading threat intelligence from Microsoft Security. And essentially, when we discover any malicious or anomalous activities within your Kubernetes cluster, we're able to trigger an alert in the portal and map that to the MITRE attack chain, and also allow you to respond via logic apps or integrate with a SIEM of your choice, such as Microsoft Sentinel. And then lastly, you'll notice that we do offer at scale frictionless onboarding, as well as agentless capabilities where you no longer have to worry about onboarding or maintaining an agent. So this is an overview of what we offer with Container Security and Defender for Cloud. And you'll notice here that these capabilities extend across Azure, AWS, and GCP, where we're supporting not only AKS, but managed Kubernetes services in AWS and GCP. So in terms of what's new, there are two key areas that we would like to focus on for this presentation. So the first one here is the agentless container posture. And this is available in both Defender CSPM and Defender for Containers. And you'll notice here that currently it's generally available in Azure, and at Ignite, we announced this is coming soon to public preview for AWS and GCP. So this is something that you'll see extended to multi-cloud within the upcoming weeks. And we'll take a closer look at what these capabilities include and what they look like in the portal. But the key thing to remember here is that with agentless container posture, just as the name suggests, these are completely agentless capabilities that are allowing you to be more proactive in discovering container security insights, as well as misconfigurations within your cloud environments. The next thing that you'll see that we've added here is vulnerability management powered by Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. So you'll notice here that we're using a single in-house scanner across all three clouds. And currently, this is generally available for Azure and coming soon to public preview for AWS and GCP. So that would mean that we're using one single scanner to discover vulnerabilities in your container images for Azure, AWS, and GCP. This is also agentless and doesn't require any configuration on your end. And you'll see here that we're providing support for both registry and runtime results. And we've increased the scanning intervals here. And we'll take a closer look at what this looks like in the portal. So one thing you may have noticed is that with the agentless container posture, this extends to both Defender CSPM and Defender for Containers. So when we look at, what the offerings that we have for container security, we extend across these two plans. And the key differences that you'll notice here is that first off, Defender CSPM is again completely agentless, and it's more focused on contextual posture management. So with Defender CSPM, you'll get the agentless discovery of your Kubernetes and your container registry estate. You'll also get the vulnerability scanning, the attack paths, and the Cloud Security Explorer. With Defender for Containers, we do extend some of those contextual posture management capabilities, which are agentless, but we also add these agent-based capabilities for runtime detection, which is allowing us to detect any attacks or suspicious behaviors on your Kubernetes cluster and get the deep OS visibility. So with Defender for Containers, we're offering advanced container security that's not only focused on the vulnerability scanning and helping with posture management, but also being able to identify threats in your environment. So those are the key differences here. And you'll see that for Defender CSPM, this is currently available in Azure. And as I mentioned before, we have the AWS and GCP coming soon in the upcoming weeks. And with Defender for Containers here, we do have multi-cloud on-premise and IaaS and preview as well. All right. So just taking a closer look at the agentless container posture management here. So the key goal of agentless container posture management is to help empower security teams to get ahead of any risk to their containerized environments and prioritize any misconfigurations or exposures to their Kubernetes deployments. And we're able to do this through these six different use cases and scenarios that you'll see here. The first one is being able to discover the Kubernetes cluster. And with this, to discover the Kubernetes cluster, this is completely agentless. We're leaving zero footprint across your clusters. And this is really an API-based discovery of the Kubernetes clusters. So the key thing here that you'll notice is that you don't have to worry about any resource consumption with an agent. With an agent, it's a completely frictionless experience and less resource intense. After being able to discover your Kubernetes cluster, we're able to provide a comprehensive inventory capabilities. So we're able to show you what resources exist on the cluster. So for example, showing you the different pods, services, namespaces that may exist on your Kubernetes cluster. The next thing here is being able to provide container-specific security insights. So being able to show you, for example, if you have any privileged containers running on your cluster, um, and help you detect any security insights with your Kubernetes cluster. The next thing here is the agentless vulnerability assessment. So this includes scanning for container scanning. This includes conducting vulnerability assessment scanning for container images and providing daily refreshed results that show you um, a more accurate and up-to-date view of the vulnerabilities that exist in your container images. We've also added exploitability insights with the latest Microsoft Defender vulnerability management scanning. The next thing that you'll notice here is the attack path analysis. And essentially what's happening here is on the back end, Defender for Cloud is running a graph-based context engine. And because we're able to discover the Kubernetes cluster without an agent and get that comprehensive inventory, as well as perform the vulnerability assessment scanning at the image level, we're able to use this information to help detect any exploitable paths that an attacker may take to perform lateral movement in your environment. So we'll show you, starting with the entry point and the target resource, how the attacker could leverage these different resources to breach your environment. And in this case, we're looking at Kubernetes specific examples. And one thing to note here is that this capability is only offered through Defender CSPM. And then the last thing here is enhanced risk hunting. So with all the information that we've collected here in the agentless discovery for Kubernetes and the agentless vulnerability assessment scanning, we display that information with the Cloud Security Explorer and allow you to query our context engine using out-of-the-box templates, as well as conducting your own or creating your own queries. And taking a closer look at the Cloud Security Explorer here, you'll see that some of the benefits are one, being able to show you the comprehensive Kubernetes inventory. So being able to see the pods, namespaces, services, etc., that exist in your clusters across all three clouds within one single view, and also show you Kubernetes specific security insights. So this would include privileged containers, internet exposure, and vulnerabilities that can be exploited remotely. And before we go into the demo here to see, what everything looks like across the three clouds, another capability that's included in the agentless container posture management is the unified vulnerability scanning. So as I've mentioned, we recently updated to the Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management Scanner, and you'll see here that it's being used across all three clouds to provide you a unified experience. So you'll see that even with the recommendations, we're being consistent in the information that we show you across all three cloud platforms. Um, you can also leverage this scanning capability for both registry and runtime without the use of an agent. Um, and we're providing improved scanning intervals to rescan running images every 24 hours, as well as images that were recently pushed or pulled. Um, and later on in this presentation, we'll show you a side-by-side comparison between our previous offering for vulnerability management and the latest additions for Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. All right, so going into the demo here, for this first part, I've gone ahead and navigated to the environment settings page, um, and I selected my subscription. Um, and then here I've actually gone ahead and I filtered to Defender CSPM and Defender for containers, just to show you the difference in capabilities that we're offering. So you'll notice here that first off in the Defender plans, we do show you which plans the capabilities exist in. But in terms of what we recently added or the areas where we've recently made changes, you'll see here that agentless discovery for Kubernetes and agentless container vulnerability assessment is available in both Defender for containers and Defender CSPM. The agentless discovery is where I mentioned that we're able to discover your Kubernetes cluster without the use of an agent using API-based discovery. And then the next thing here is the container vulnerability assessment scanning at the image level. And right now we're looking at the onboarding for Azure. So this would be, in order to use the agentless container posture management, these would be the two capabilities that you would need here. If we take a closer look at multi-cloud, which as I mentioned is coming soon, um, we more than, if you're interested in using these capabilities today, I would encourage you to join our private preview community. But you'll see here using GCP as an example. You'll see here for Defender CSPM and Defender for containers that we added those same capabilities to AWS and GCP. So soon you'll be able to enable the agentless discovery for Kubernetes and enable the agentless container vulnerability assessment scanning as well. And you'll see here that you would get results for images stored in GCR or guard or running on the GKE cluster. So that is a close look at what the onboarding looks like. So once you've enabled everything in your cloud environment, there are a couple of different things that you would expect to see. So first off, you'll notice that we have recommendations for the vulnerability scanning and the latest scanning experience for Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. You'll notice that in the recommendations, it says powered by Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. And we have two recommendations here. One is focused on the registry level. The other one is focused on running container images. And we did release a blog recently highlighting our decision or our strategic decision to continue investing in Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. If one of my colleagues could share that in the chat here. But once the multi-cloud is released as well, you'll also see recommendations for that. And one of the key things that I wanted to highlight is that this is a really unified experience. So if we look at AWS, for example, and even looking at the recommendation for GCP, you'll see that it's pretty consistent across the board. So we start out giving you context on an overview on the unhealthy repositories, the total vulnerable images and vulnerabilities and CVEs that we detected. Then it goes down to the repository level. And you can also see here at scale all the vulnerabilities that were detected across your container images. And it's the same experience here for GCP. And if you're looking at Azure, or you're currently using this for your Azure container registries, you'll also notice the same experience. So first off, when you click on a CVE, which we'll see here in a moment. So when you click on a CVE, we start off by giving you some background information in terms of what was discovered. So first off, you'll notice that we're able to detect different severities here, from critical, high, medium, low, and informational. And we give you a background, so a description and some general information here on the CVE, as well as the package type, vendor, the package name, installed version, and the fixed version that you would need in this case. And you can also see one interesting feature that we've added from Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management, the exploitability section. So this is really helping you to prioritize remediation for the riskiest CVEs in your environment. So you'll see here that we show you if an exploit step was published, if those steps have been verified, and if the exploit exists. If the exploit exists, or excuse me, if the CVE exists in an exploit kit. And you'll see this information across the board for all of the CVEs that we detect on the image. Another thing that you'll notice here is that you can actually drill down. So you can start at the registry level. You can then go into the container level, or excuse me, the repository level, and then select an unhealthy image here. And then if you want to view just the CVEs for a particular image, then you can do that through this view. And if we take a look at the recommendation for running container images, you'll see here that we're showing you at the cluster level, because the goal here is to show you images that are currently running on the Kubernetes cluster. But we do provide the same similar experience here in terms of giving you the background information, also giving you the exploitability insights. And for runtime, we're also showing you the containers, the pods that were impacted as well. So this is a close look at the new experience for vulnerability management. So you might notice, there's a lot of vulnerabilities that were detected in my environment. How do I get started? What is a good way to prioritize? So we looked at exploitability. Another resource that might be helpful here is the attack path analysis. And the goal here with the attack path is to help you identify potential lateral movements the attacker could take. So in this case, you'll see different attack paths for the Kubernetes cluster. And I've gone ahead here and filtered to only show you for Kubernetes. So you'll see that we're providing a unified experience, and we've extended the same attack paths that we have in Azure to AWS and GCP, which is coming soon. So for example here, if we look at this attack path, which is looking at internet exposure on the pod level for a pod that's also running a container with a high severity vulnerability. So it starts out by showing you the entry point here, which is this Kubernetes cluster, this EKS cluster. And it shows you visually that this cluster contains this namespace, which also contains this ingress, which routes traffic to this service. And you'll see that this service routes traffic to this pod. And when you click on the pod, one of the insights here is that it's exposed to the internet. And then you can also see that pod is running this container, which has this vulnerable container image. And then looking at another example here for GCP, which is focused on internet exposure at the node level. We're giving you similar visuals here and showing you the entry point, which is the GKE cluster. And we show you how this cluster contains this namespace, which contains this pod. And it's also being run on this node, which you'll see here is exposed to the internet, and we break down the different exposure rules that were detected. In the end, this node is running this pod, which is running this container, and we show you here that this container image has detected vulnerabilities here, which you'll see in the insights, and then we list out the CVEs and show you the recommendation here is to resolve those vulnerabilities. So another capability that you also see with the agentless container posture is the Cloud Security Explorer. So earlier I mentioned that we have a graph-based context engine, and with the agentless discovery of Kubernetes, we're able to discover your Kubernetes estate, and also perform the vulnerability scanning through agentless container vulnerability scanning. So we gather all this information here to look at the context of your environment. And with Cloud Security Explorer, we're allowing you to perform interactive queries with that context engine. So you can see here when you select the resource types and go to containers, we have Azure currently, and soon you'll be able to see also AWS and GCP. So if you select the Kubernetes clusters here, there's a couple of different use cases that you can look at, and we have some templates in here to get started. But one of the cool things about this is that you can really use this capability to look at inventory. So for example, if I just wanted to see all the namespaces that exist across, the three environments I've selected. In this case, I went ahead and selected the 3 clusters, and then I'm checking that it contains and this Kubernetes namespace. And when I click search, it's going to show me, all the namespaces here that were detected. You could also look at, for example, the pods. So I've already got it set up to search for namespaces, and I'm going to extend it to show contains. Then if we look at workloads here, pods, and then I click search again, and it's going to show me that information. And I can take it a step further, and if I want to look at specific security insights, one example that we mentioned would be privileged containers. So in this case, I can extend it to say pods that is running containers, and I can say that they're privileged containers. Search, and it's going to show me all the privileged containers that have been detected. And then the last thing I want to show here for this demo is that we've updated the container security workbook to include the updated Microsoft Defender vulnerability management scanning results. So you'll see here that we have right now for Azure, we have 2 tabs. So you'll see at the registry level, we have MDVM and Qualys. And then you'll also see at the runtime, we have MDVM and Qualys, really allowing you to view results from both scanners if you do have both of them running. but also allowing you to view at scale reporting. So you'll see here that we start off by showing you an overview of all the severities, all the vulnerabilities that were detected by severity. And then with the addition of the exploitability insights, we also show you um, which vulnerabilities were detected as exploitable. So you'll see here in this case that we have CVEs where there were exploit steps published. Um, and then we break it down by the registry level. So when you select a specific registry, you can go in and view the repository here. And then it will show you the specific CVEs that were detected for that repository. And you can get a description for the CVE, and you'll also notice that we include if there's a fix available, any tags that existed on the image, and again, surface those exploitability insights, as well as showing you the vendor and the OS distribution and CVSS score. So this is really a good way to not only compare results across a particular image, but also view reporting. And if you like, you can actually go in and click edit and view the different queries that we're using to get these results. All right, with that, I will go back here to end off the presentation on the latest additions for the Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. So this is really showing you or highlighting the enhancements that we're making with the updated scanner. So first off, you can see here that we're now able to support more environments. So previously we only supported Azure Container Registry, but now this is being extended to Elastic Container Registry, Google Container Registry, Google Artifact Registry as well. And again, these multi-cloud registries are coming soon. You'll also see here in the previous experience that to get the runtime results, it required an agent. Now we have both agent-based and agentless options. So with the agent-based options, you can use the Defender profile. The agentless here would be the agentless discovery of Kubernetes that we looked at. And we're also supporting more environments in this case by extending to EKS and GKE. And again, as I showed you, the onboarding is pretty straightforward here in terms of making sure that those two toggles are turned on. You'll also see that we're still able to quickly scan new images. So we're providing a near real-time scan in Azure, and scanning typically within a few hours for AWS and GCP. And you'll see that we clearly increased the scanning frequency. So previously we only scan every 7 days. Now we're scanning daily to give you more accurate and updated results. You can also see that not only do we cover scanning images that were pulled in the last 30 days, but we're also scanning images that were pushed in the last 90 days as well, so covering a broader time frame. This is taking a closer look at the packages that we support. So you'll see here that pretty much the same in terms of language-specific packages, but with OS packages, we're covering a broader landscape here. And then you'll see here that with MDVM, we're providing the exploitability insights. And in cases where we do see that the CVE is exploitable, we're pointing to sources such as CSPM, Exploit DV, and Microsoft Security Response Center. We are also adding vulnerability evidence at the image level, which are commands that can be used to find the vulnerable package on the image. And we're still supporting private links for ACR. Now, for those of you that are interested in upgrading to MDVM, there are a couple of things that you can go ahead and do. So first off, the recommendations for MDVM are enabled by default for Defender CSPM, Defender for Containers, and even if you're using the Defender for Containers registry plan, which is deprecated. And you'll see in the UI where I showed you that we have the recommendations that say powered by Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management to show you clearly which scanner is being used. You can also go ahead and update any API results or Azure Resource Graph queries as well. And the container security workbook would be really helpful in this case to show not only reporting, but different query examples. And if there are any, other issues that you run into or anything that's not covered here, we do suggest opening a support ticket so we can do some further investigation here. And for those of you who are already using this new scanner, I do encourage you to share your feedback through this form where we're continuously monitoring and looking to hear for you or your suggestions for any improvements here. And looks like we have some time for Q&A.
Thank you, Future. There's a couple questions that hasn't been answered, and let's just see if you'll be able to help with this. Is there a way to have a master account which could take care of client secrets keys for multiple AWS or even Salesforce API integrated instances, so that it's not a manual task to update each instance connect through API?
That's a loaded question there. Sorry, just taking the time to read as well.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this question. I'm not sure if anyone else on the call may be more familiar with. It might be something we need to follow up on.
Yeah, we'll move forward. Thank you for that. The next one is, does the discovery of common attack vectors does include unauthorized deployments or unauthorized network connections, etc.?
No, it does not include that currently. Really do appreciate these suggestions here. So maybe something for us to potentially look into down the line, but no, it does not include that at the moment.
Okay, and the last one just came in. Can Defender for Endpoint patch third-party apps such as Chrome, Firefox, Adobe, etc.?
So if I'm understanding correctly, this question is about Defender for Endpoint.
Endpoint, yeah.
Yeah, which is not the focus of this presentation.
Perhaps I see somebody's replying to that one and may know the answer, but you're correct. It's slightly different, well, completely different product. So let's move on to the next one.
Right.
Could we? Well, yes, we will be sharing a question on the deck. We will be sharing the recording as well as the deck, and you can locate them at our landing page, which is at https. It's the slide that we're sharing right now, the short link, aka ms/security community. And if you scroll down below, you'll be able to find the recording sections of all of the webinars we've hosted, including this one. Okay, so let's see. I think there's more questions coming in. What about runtime protection on a single node Docker?
So Defender for Containers does offer runtime threat detection. We also offer at the node level. Yeah, so Defender for Containers does offer the runtime threat detection, which would be available by using the Defender agent. So let me just, maybe it would help if I went back here. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
We have plenty of time.
Just to complement on that, specifically regarding Docker, currently we don't support threat detection for machines individual machines that are running the Docker runtime. It may be something that we will add later down the path.
Thank you for clarifying, Tomer.
No problem.
We do have threat detection offered by the Defender agent in Azure, which, as Tomer mentioned, does not include Docker runtime. But you can deploy this to the AKS cluster or any Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes cluster. You can also use this for AWS and GCP. And the main thing here is that we're offering threat detection. So as I mentioned before, we have several different Kubernetes aware analytics. And essentially, when we detect any threats in your environment, we would show that in the alert blade here. So it looks like I do have one for Kubernetes. Yep. Were there any other questions?
Yeah, I was just replying to this roadmap question. Just so we don't handle the roadmap or future upcoming features in the public community call, so that will be the private community, and I'm providing the directions to that one. But thanks for the feedback or the question. Let me just see if more came in. Okay, someone is asking, can it be also used for the Kubernetes too, right?
Right. So that's currently what we're protecting here, the Kubernetes cluster. So we cover AKS, GKE, EKS. If you have an on-premise cluster, IaaS, that can be onboarded with Azure Arc.
Okay, cool. I think we covered all the questions here. Thank you so much, Future. So and also thanks for sharing this great information here with our community today, as well as the team here, the SMEs that were answering all the questions. Thank you for that. So to all the listeners out there in the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desires to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So please join us at aka.ms/security community. In that site, if you scroll down, you'll also be able to navigate through the private communities if you want to get into the deeper conversations with us, such as the ones raised earlier regarding the roadmap, upcoming features, and so on. Also, please take a minute submitting your webinar feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. And for those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered, or other product-related questions or feedback, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/MDC community. In fact, also Future, let me just, for the convenience of it, let me also share the form feedback regarding this specific topic of the containers that you covered today. So now the audience has the link for that as well. So thank you again for being a part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.